Hello and welcome to episode 355 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk from indie film to studio films and commercials and everything in between. How to get them, how to, and how to try not to it up. In our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. What are you going to do?
I'm Tomlin.
And he's feeling very rough right now. Oh, I've ruined it. You were great. So, this week's episode, we sit down, if you haven't guessed by now, with Strays director Josh Greenbaum, who has made the excellent doggy R-rated comedy.
He has.
Strays.
It was an exceptionally funny film, and I think it's quite funny. It's quite hard. It's not quite funny. It's quite hard to be funny these days, and to make these kind of outrage comedies. And the laughs were very continuous, and it was uplifting and fun and surprisingly charming.
Yes, it was. It's one of those wonderful R-rated comedies that really gets to the heart of it as well. And it's real, using real dogs. And that just must have taken so long to get right. So long.
Must have had a rough time.
That's good.
I can't remember the ones I did in the pod because we did the intro later. I did quite a few.
You did so many in the pod. So many. Even Josh was going, okay. Stop, please, stop. Yeah. It was like
hounded him down with them.
Nice. What do we talk about before we do any more puns and switch everyone off from listening with Josh?
We talked about the emotional pull of working with an R-rated animal comedy, creating an emotional pull. Collaborating with legends or Legogens.
Nice.
Lord and Miller, who did the Lego movie and have been on the podcast before.
Indeed.
And we talked working with stars, animals, and how you can root for characters.
We also talked about working with a cinematographer on a movie like this and how he wanted to always be moving the camera and making his moving masters Spielberg style, which again is really hard when you're working with dogs and not actors. He talks about that. He also talks about how he pitched to Universal and got this movie greenlit. Storyboarding and shots and animatics. And importantly, why you should find people who feel the same way as you. I think that goes for life as well. But there we go. This is Josh Greenbaum on the Filmmakers Podcast, and all that is coming up for you on this week's episode.
Yeah.
How are you, Dom? You all right?
Not bad. Yeah. Had a bit of a bank holiday.
Ooh. Yeah? Tell us.
I wasn't banking on it, but... No, usual stuff. Hiking, lots of swimming, eating lots of desserts, usual sort of shenanigans.
That sounds great.
Bits of hard work though thrown in.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was like doing this. I was been playing football. I've been playing with the dog on the trampoline. Speaking of connecting it. Yep. Lovely Riley which connects perfectly to this week's episode
of the Filmmakers Podcast.
I had a lovely time at Fright Fest earlier. Yeah. When did I go? I went to opening night and I saw
Opening Fright.
Yes.
Why do they call it that?
Opening Fright.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're not as clever as you, I don't think, Tom. No, it doesn't make any sense, does it? And I saw Andy Edwards' brilliant film, A Punch, which was really fun and well made, and the crowd lapped it up. It was perfect for Fright Fest. And that was fun. It was great to see so many people I knew there as well to say hello to. It's really nice.
And James Bush's film Law, which I heard was lawsome.
Yes, did, starring Richard Brake, who has starred in two of my films as well. He's a wonderful man. And I actually watched him in Barbarians the other night. If you've not seen that, super film. Huge shout out to Boland's Shoes. This movie, which I love, is coming out on September the 15th, directed by Ian Poulsen Davis and produced by Terry Dwyer and Dean Fisher, and exec by Greg Barrow.
As I said on Twitter the other day, it's terrific.
Nice. Yeah, cool. So Boland's Shoes, starring Timothy Spall, Leanne Best, Mark Lewis-Jones. It features music by the pioneers of the glam rock movement of the 1970s, Mark Boland's T-Rex. Cinemas showing coming up, which is why you should support indie film. London, Nottingham, Shropshire, Chester, West Sussex, Yorkshire, just to name a few. And it's going to be playing at the Everyman in Muswell Hill in London from the 15th of September. I will be there. We're having a screening in the morning. I think it's around 10 o'clock. I know, I will be there.
Where's my invite?
You can come along, Dom. Dom, free ticket for you, Dom, on the 10th of September. Yes. Sorry, Dom, you're coming on the 10th. We're all going on the 15th of September.
Funny guy,
dickhead. No, come along, 15th of September. It's going to be amazing. Buffalo Dragon's latest. They obviously
Isn't that when you just booked tickets for Oppenheimer?
No, that is for the... Oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, that was for the 13th. I booked it for the 13th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to the IMAX, me and Dom, and I cannot wait. Sitting on the biggest screen, the 70mm print of it, and I cannot wait. Booked. It's done. We're going. It does.
Yeah.
So, Bowl and Shoes from the 15th. Go watch it. Support indie film.
So, someone was telling me that Timothy Spall's performance in that was quite a revelation, and it was weird. It was like a sort of a random. It was like abroad or something, and I just heard someone talking about it. But I don't remember why. It might have been. I don't know if it was in like Cannes or if it was somewhere else. But someone was saying about how good his performance was in it, and it wasn't sort of a normal conversation or someone directly connected. So it was quite interesting. So yeah, maybe it is one to look out for. Well, we did have fun on this podcast. He was a nice gentleman, Josh. He was fun and friendly and extremely down to earth, and just one of those people that you know is like not gonna, or hasn't become like famous and distant. He's still one of the guys or one of the girls if you're one of the girls.
Yeah, I agree.
One of those sorts. Nice,
he was a joy to chat with. One of these that feels like he's your pal straight away. I felt like I wanted to call him.
Maybe he is our pal. Maybe he is.
I think he is. He is our pal. He's a great guy. So let's get to him. This is Josh Greenbaum talking all about how his career started, how he got to where he got to, and how he made Strays. What should they do, Dom? Exactly. Enjoy.
Hello. Sorry,
Hello.
I'm muted. 1 second. Hold on. Here we go.
Here we go.
There he is.
Hey. Hello,
magic.
mate. Magic hands.
Zoom.
The magic of Zoom.
Good to meet you.
Great.
Loving those pop pants, Josh. A really nice backdrop you got there.
Thank you. I've been spending the last hour just moving, just being like, all right, is that?
It's very well centered. Very well centered. Yep.
If I really were to be honest, there's just trash all to the right and the left, just covered.
Just
I just
piled up.
all the trash out of the frame.
Yes. Yeah, just piled up in.
I mean, by the way, it just dawned on me that I almost am between two ferns. It just did.
I know.
Well, we can change the line of questioning if you want.
I know it's not your podcast, clearly, but
we've got a few behind.
A few of those questions for you. Yeah.
We'll save those for the end.
Dogs or humans?
Mean questions. Good.
Mean questions. No, filthy jokes are forte. We loved it. We loved the film, didn't we, Dom?
Oh, thank you.
Loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
so much fun.
Did you saw it?
It's been so long since I saw a film that was that funny. And I was saying to Giles, I can remember old school and some of those kind of old classics. But like, there was actually moments when I was waiting for a reprieve from the laughter because it was hurting. I was laughing so much, and then you had like Will Ferrell being all like heartfelt and like really really well done.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, I was trying to do that balance of like, obviously it's a comedy, it has to deliver the laughs, but like my favorite comedies are the ones that you kind of come out of and you're like, God, I wasn't really expecting to either get that emotional or be that emotionally invested in the story. Yeah. And if you can do both, there's always my kind of goal. So that's the dream. So it's really lovely to hear that you were bouncing between and laughing and getting emotional. So thank you.
Pleasure. Well, interestingly, just like I'm looking after a puppy at the moment. I have my own puppy, but she's 10, still call her a puppy. And I'm looking after a 9-month-old puppy. Dom, literally a few days before the screening as well, he was looking after a puppy that was literally just born. So
yeah, they're this big as well, like an inch or two. Yeah.
Tiny. He was holding it in his hand, this little tiny thing.
Yeah.
We've got a little Staffy at the moment that's running around making a wonderful noise, but she's amazing.
Crazy. Well, we'll see if it happens in the background. I have 2 dogs. running around. One of whom is a border terrier who was adopted from strays, who played the puppy version of Reggie, Will Ferrell's character.
In the
film.
cave.
If you remember in the cardboard box in the first like 1 minute of the film.
That
one.
That dog is now living with me, and it's my family's dog.
Are you
his name is Reggie.
Hopefully not training him to attack anyone's balls?
No, I'm not training him to do any sort of
bite any
biting,
dicks off.
or humping or any of the inappropriate things that are in our film. We're gonna stick with like sit, stay.
How's the couch faring?
Yeah. I do have to keep an eye on that couch.
Yes, exactly. Mean, isn't it, all that dry humping stuff is just absolutely. It was so funny. It just went on, and we just like say we howling. Again, these are references when you see the movie, dear listener. That yes, you will totally get. It's fantastic. If you like Ted, if you like old school, you like any of those kind of movies, you're gonna love this movie. It's hilarious, and it's a reprieve from all the issues and dramas that are going on at the moment in your life. It's something you should really seek out and watch. It's fantastic. So well done, Josh. Well done.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure. So where did this come from? Obviously, I'm quite a big fan of Barb and Star. Go to Vista del Mar anyway. So you're on my radar and stuff. So when the Strays came, I saw that. I was like, wow, okay, that's a different turn. Okay, talking dogs. Here we go. How did it come about? Talk us through that whole process, because you're also a producer.
Yeah, it's funny, I think you're always the last film you make probably informs whatever you want to do next, and if you want to do something similar or different. And I had such a fun experience making Barb and Star go to Vista del Mar for many reasons. Obviously, Kristen Wiig and Andy Mumolo, and it's a very absurd film. If you've been able to see it, really. Yes. Fun and lovely and absurd, and people have described it as like a Muppet movie but with humans, which I love that description.
That's a great description.
And so I think I've always been drawn to like trying to either feel like I'm doing something very different, and I think I'm sure all artists and filmmakers feel this way. I really want to be the first to do something. I don't know what that is. I think it just feels like creatively exciting to be like, oh, this space feels untouched. And in defense, it's not, right. We've obviously had dog movies and talking dog movies, but to do them from an adult perspective and what if dogs actually talk like we do, which I tend to think they probably do. I don't know why they wouldn't. Why would they only speak in sort of G-rated terms? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think that was just at the outset exciting to be like, oh, this is an opportunity to do something new. It's funny. Right after Barb and Star, had a long interview with Guillermo del Toro, who was awesome and was a big fan of Barb and Star. And I had ran into him a little bit later, and he said, "So what are you doing next, Josh?" And I described Strays, and he literally just goes, "That makes sense."
Makes perfect sense.
And I don't totally know exactly remember, but it just like it clicked for him. He's like, "Yeah, that makes sense that you're now going to go make an R-rated talking dog movie." But no, the genesis of the project started with our wonderful writer Dan Perrault. He wrote this script that I came across my desk, and I remember I was sent a bunch of scripts that weekend to read from my agents, and one of you get the log line, the one line,
dog line
description of what it's about. Yeah, the dog line. Thank you. Nice, Dom. Very good. Very good.
Very good.
Are we going to be keeping a score of like pet puns during this? Because I'm worried that Dom's going to really run away with this.
Dom will win. Dom will win. It's an ongoing podcast joke.
I feel like he has like a list written on his hand. He's just ready.
It's written on his paw. That's how much he's written. He's turned his hand into a
rough.
1-1.
He won't pause.
2-1.
He'll just keep doing it.
I'm sorry, listener. This is going to be a tough 45 minutes.
They already know what they're going to get.
I should have said rough 45 minutes, but
they know, Josh. They know.
They're just barking up the wrong tree.
Hey, Josh is winning. I love it.
Anyway, I completely forgot what I was talking about.
You were talking about Dan Perrault. Yeah.
We got sidetracked with the Dog and Pony Show.
We did. Hey,
don't stop it, please.
Sorry, I'm stopping.
Oh my God.
Look at him. He's so excited. There's a twinkle in both eyes. So I get log lines for all the scripts I'm supposed to read that weekend. And this one comes across and literally says about a sweet, naive dog named Reggie who was abandoned by his owner, who wants to get revenge by biting his owner's dick off. And that was accompanied with an animated GIF of a small dog humping a larger dog. And that immediately sprung the top of my reading list. Like, okay, I need to read this. But to be honest, I kind of went into it thinking, okay, I know what this is. It's going to be a dog spoof movie. It's going to be not another dog movie.
Yeah,
which was sort of like, okay, I'm intrigued, but I don't think I'm going to run at that. That's not really my genre. I'm not like, and I love satire and spoof. But so once I read it and I discovered that, yeah, we obviously hit on some of the fun tropes and there's some great jokes that you want in this type of movie. I was so pleased and surprised that it was really rather emotional and that it had depth and there was character and ultimately a total universality of the story. I mean, when I finally got on board and then talked to Dan, we talked a lot about how actually it was born partially out of this idea of toxic relationships, right? And something we can all relate to, of like when you're in a relationship that's not, equal and, you're giving everything and they're not giving you anything, how you get out of that and how your friends can help you through that. And then how you find your own sense of self-worth, all of these kind of deeper, bigger emotional themes and human themes kind of hidden inside of this very funny, loud, R-rated talking dog movie. So that's when I kind of hooked in and I was like, okay, I get this. I love this. I weirdly, like, of course, the genre of Superbad and 40-Year-Old Virgin and all of that, I'm such a massive fan of. But I also had shades of when I was reading it of like Stand By Me and
I saw that on the train track reference. Definitely got that.
The train tracks and just the kind of general. And another film I love, I don't know if you've ever seen, called Breaking Away, but these kind of if you haven't, put it on your list. It's a wonderful film. But it's they're both, I mean, all of these, but the kind of power of finding your pack, of course, to use a dog term, but like, the power of like friendship and having support and what that can do for you and your sense of sort of self-worth and self-esteem and help you through life, which is really hard. So anyway, all of that to say, I was, that's when I hooked in. And then that was years ago. We worked on the script. We had to figure out the budget and how to do it with dogs and casting the voices and all of the other stuff I'm sure we'll talk about. But that was the very, very early start of it all.
Interesting. And how did you end up with the cast that you ended up with? Because they really do make such a big difference to it. Like Will Ferrell is, a lot of people think he's a funny guy and he is a very funny guy, but he brings so much heart to it and it's almost unexpected, but he does have those acting chops. And Jamie Foxx is amazing. Isla Fisher's always hilarious. Like, how did you end up with such an exceptional, like, tight-knit sort of cast on this?
Well, yeah, the cast was, look, I was so blessed to get the cast that we got. We sent the script into Will. I had a relationship with Will he was a producer on Barb and Star, Go to Vista Del Mar. We kind of knew each other and really liked each other. And I think he also, he just really responded to the material. And a big shout out to one of his sons. He has 3 wonderful sons. I think he was driving in the car and pitched this idea of this movie to his 13-year-old son, Axel, and said, "Hey, Axel, would you watch a movie where I play a sweet little dog whose owner is mean and I go bite his dick off?" And his son was like, 1,000% yes, Dad. Please go make that movie. So big shout out
like a good kid.
Axel Ferrell, great kid. I'm going to give him a big hug at the premiere when I can see him next. But no, it was incredible. And, I think once we got Will on board and Jamie, who's just the most talented man in the world. There's nothing that guy can't do, from obviously his incredible dramatic chops, but you forget that he had a background in comedy and stand-up comedy and living color. Like that was his bread and butter earlier. Fox, and you realize, oh, right, he's super funny. And he can sing and he can dance. He can do everything. And so he blew me away every day. But what was so fun was I think Jamie was so excited to work with Will. They had never worked together, which again, you kind of have these things in movies and in Hollywood, you kind of assume, oh, they must have worked on something together. They had never done it. So one of the things I said to the both of them when we started making the film was I would really love and really urge you to both come into the sessions together. Because most of the time in animation, and I know you've talked to, Jeff Rowe on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was great. And, that whole process, they generally are by themselves,
Yeah.
and they're usually delivering their lines, and they act maybe opposite the director, who is, not a professional actor.
Mhm.
So I said, if the more you can come in, the better. And they did all their sessions together. And I think you can feel that, I hope, in the film, where there's just this sort of organic chemistry. I said, don't worry about overlapping lines with each other, which is a note they're often given. It's like, don't step on each other's lines because it makes the animation difficult. No, I was like, no, just do whatever you want. No, don't hold back, improvise. Because I wanted to get that kind of traditional improvised R-rated comedy feel. Because I'm like, I've never seen that on dogs. Like usually when there's dog jokes, they're like set up punchline, as opposed to the kind of mumbled under your breath sort of subtle joke or the little natural little. Yeah. And I wanted as much of that as possible. So anyway, they came together, and then Isla Fisher and Randall Park are just incredible. Isla, like you said, just whip smart, so funny. Brought so much to that character, and Randall, who I had worked with before and was always looking for an opportunity to work with him again. We had done, he had a TV show here in the States called Fresh Off the Boat that he was one of the leads of. And I used to direct some episodes of that. Yeah. I've done some TV, and I like TV sometimes because that's a perfect example of like, I formed a relationship. I watched Randall's like, this guy's really funny. Obviously the rest of Hollywood has discovered that over the last few years because he's in everything as he should be. And but that was really fun. And then of course, the kicker, those are our main voices, but the maybe the most difficult role to pull off, in my opinion, is what Will Forte does. In that he has to play this villain in our film of, as you guys know, of the sort of mean owner who dumps this dog, and Reggie wants to go and enact his revenge on. And that was an interesting challenge, right? To play that character, which we can get into, but I don't know. I'm talking a lot. So
you're fantastic.
Hand the mic back up.
Let's get into it. Well, on that, because you're right, it's so hard to get someone to play opposite a talking dog in that sense, even though they're not in it as much as the dogs.
It was just his forte.
Oh God,
doesn't count. Was not a dog.
Yes,
was not a dog.
Wasn't a dog reference.
Doesn't count.
Dom is pretty much on heat right now. One for me. but onto Will Forte, like it was just great because he was on that right balance of, he knew what film he was in. It's right on the edge of R-rated filth and fun, but at the same time he came across as an arsehole. We wanted him to get his dick bitten off, you know what I mean? But yet we also understood in some weird way. It worked. He did it brilliantly. So you directed him fantastically to get that performance.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that, and he deserves all the credit. I mean, he, our very first call when we started speaking about the film and about the role of Doug, and he was on board, and we had never worked together and had always wanted to. And he kind of said to me, essentially, I think I have to play him pretty mean, right? And I said, yeah, I think so, Will. I think for this film, which is anchored on this plot of a pretty mean asshole of an owner, dumping his dog, and then the dog wanted to get revenge. Like, if you don't want that to happen as an audience, because you're like, nah, he's not that bad, then the whole film falls apart. There's no foundation. And so, he knew that right away, and kudos to him too, because that's a role that, can be tricky, to recover from. So, where audiences might go, oh, I don't like him anymore.
Yes.
Right. I mean, let's all admit that we kind of, when people play villains, and then you see them in real life, you're like, I think I don't like them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, no, they're a really good actor.
Good
Stop.
actors. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so he knew it, and what we did a lot on set as well is, I said, look, let's make sure we get levels. So in any given scene, we would do performances that were, from, let's call it a 7 up to a 10, or, we turn these to 11.
To 11, yes.
So just so we kind of were able to calibrate his performance even afterwards. Not that he didn't, I think he on set knew exactly the right thing, but I knew, let me just have those options in case we put this in front of an audience and either it's too much and people are pulling back and saying, oh, I can't watch this, or it's too soft. And it's like, no, I don't really, I'm not really threatened, and I think we, he found that balance. We found it together, and it's great to hear that that sort of landed for you guys as well.
And I suppose it's also that relationship with Will Ferrell, because he plays such an innocent, sweet little dog character that's so naive that that kind of makes it even worse. His performance against that as well. So it's the balance.
Absolutely, you're right. I mean, there's That's right. There's almost less lifting you have to do when, the character you're playing opposite is so sweet. I mean, it was an interesting process for me because one of the things I think about a lot as a director, and I think it goes all the way back to screenwriting, is, you work hard to sort of make sure that your protagonist early on in the film is someone your audience can either get behind or identify with or root for, whatever it is you want. So it's not always root for, but often is. Mm-hmm. And, there's an entire screenwriting book series called Save the Cat. And like the whole title of that series is, have your protagonist save a cat out of a tree. And I found that within 3 seconds of having an unbelievably adorable, 15-pound border terrier mutt, people are just like, I love that dog. I love that character. So like that job was done. So that was sort of interesting. But I think to your question, it does in some ways also help in terms of how much we had to turn Will Forte up or down, because he's playing opposite something so innocent and pure and sweet.
So how did you do that then? I mean, I want to jump back in a bit as well about how you actually got to that stage where you're on set with a dog and Will Forte. But while we're talking about that, how did you play those scenes? Was Will Ferrell there? Had you recorded the voices before or after? In the room when you're filming it on set, do you have Will Forte and a dog? Talk us through that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, first of all, the sort of rules of our film, right, which were interesting because the bulk of the film, unlike a lot of, I guess, other talking dog movies, it's 90% of it is just dogs. It's 4 dogs in the scene. There's dogs. Not a lot of humans. Obviously, Doug shows up early and late in the film. So there's that. So, on set, we were mostly just dealing with very quiet sets with trainers going, okay, and sit and stay. And that's all that's happening on set. And I can see the movie in my head and hear the movie in my head. But, and occasionally I did have the full scratch track audio of like a table read of the script that I had, but I was thinking, I'll play it for the crew every day before the scene. I just wound up acting out the scenes with stuffed animals so they could see the blocking. That's kind of how I communicated what we were about to shoot, what the scene was about. And then, it was a very sort of odd experience on set, lovely and quiet, but not the movie, because you're just shooting dogs looking. And but my trainers and I got very dialed in. So I knew that I needed Reggie to sort of lower his head and get sad when he's saying this line. And so there were performance notes I knew I needed in a long 30-second push in. I needed the dog to not break its attention. So there was all of that. But in terms of the Will Forte side of things, the rules of our film in a way were Will Forte never heard Reggie, right? He hears barking.
Yeah.
That's all he hears. So in a way, that dynamic we didn't need the back and forth there, because Will Forte is just acting opposite
annoyed.
The dog,
he's just
who's annoyed, and there's a moment in the film by the end that you probably recall where Reggie gives a bit of a heartfelt and longish speech to Doug.
Yes.
And and you kind of you're in it, and then we sort of pop out and you realize he's just going. Yeah. So that was kind of the unique part of Will Forte's performance is he's just a reminder that he's acting opposite a very annoying dog in his mind.
The dogs did have a real it was a surprising range. Like some of the emotions that their faces managed to capture in some of the sort of emotional scenes were really surprising. I've never seen dogs go through that. Was there anything where you had to sort of use CGI to capture something that you couldn't get on set, or did you manage to get everything you needed through the dog trainers?
Yeah, it's a great question. It was a huge part of the process of making the film. I mean, I feel like the intro of your podcast, I think, don't you say something about how not to fuck it up? Yeah. Right? It's like, yes, right? Exactly like that's like the director's job of how not to fuck it up. Yeah. It's like, so that's a question I ask myself all the time when making a film. And I mean that genuinely. It's like, I actually actively seek out what are the things that could make this fall apart, and let's shine a lantern on them, run right at them, figure out how to address them. And one of those for me was exactly the question you're getting at, which is, I wanted the most organic performances I could get. I wanted the dogs to feel fully real. And so I set out making the film by my goal was to use real dogs and their performances in 95% of the movie, as much as I possibly could. But the challenge there is, there's times when dogs just don't deliver on set. You're not getting it. There's also times, by the way, when, and these were easier answers, when if the dog was ever in any type of remote safety issue, it's like, well, we're never doing that. So, there's a sequence, involving an eagle, like that's all CG, right? We don't even bother attempting to do anything with real dogs in any of that.
Or real eagles.
Yeah,
but
good.
Glad.
Yes.
So that was a big part of it. But then the flip side of that is, okay, I want to try to not overly anthropomorphize the dogs. The reason I wanted all that, by the way, was the more the dogs felt real, I always felt like the funnier the film would be. Like the less you're getting pulled out, and knowing that it was going to adult audiences, we're just more critical, right? Kids, like you make a dog's eyebrows move around and do all these funny kind of cartoony things. Kids just go with it. Adults, for me at least, I pull out. I pull back. I'm just like, that was weird. I was in it. I felt like they were real dogs, and now you've kind of like pulled me out of the movie. So the way I was back to the not fucking it up is like, well, will I get enough out of the dogs, naturally? And if I don't, how can I, use CG to help convey that? And I guess, so that was always the question and the push and pull between all of it. And I can say both huge kudos to our animal training team, which I'll talk about, and then also a huge kudos to our VFX team when we needed them. But the bulk of like the really, really emotional stuff in the film, I will say, is from the animal trainers. They, to give you an example, they probably trained 7 or 8 different styles of walking. Okay. Wow. So that sounds crazy to you, right? It's like, there should be walk and run, and that's it. Well, if you think about a human being and you watch me walk and I got my head down, like you can tell my whole emotional state. Yeah. If I'm on all fours, good.
Yes, your emotional.
You can tell that I'm feeling like a dog that day.
Yeah, you're fucking it up, right?
I'm fucking it up, exactly. But so the body language of a walk can tell you so much, and so they were trained different styles of head down, head up, a happy trot, a kind of trepidatious walk, hesitation, all that stuff that is really, really nuanced. And I was just blown away with the performance that our training team, led by Mark Forbes, who's sort of done if you've seen any animal movie in the last couple decades, he and his incredible team have been behind it. So that was incredible. And then when I needed it, yes, I would occasionally, of course, we needed the CG to make them talk, because we were unable to get them to talk.
This is a shame, because them. They have 10 years. 10 years.
One day we'll
training
get
this.
One day we'll have to.
Yeah, one day.
One day those guys will get.
So then, occasionally you would manipulate the eyebrows, or you manipulate certain things, but I tried to keep that to a minimum, to just when you really, really needed it. So for example, when you're confused as a dog, you don't go like this. You tilt your head. You cock your head sideways.
Yeah.
So it's like, and we all know that. So it's like, how can we lean into those types of behaviors?
Does that mean that you were timing the dialogue, like you were speaking it, because obviously, and you're thinking, well, I could cut to a single there. This is a 2-shot or a 4-shot, 4 dogs.
Yeah,
4-shot.
And now I know I can punch in. But but now you've got that must have been mad in your head to try and say all the lines of these dogs and then think about your edit at the same time as the movement and the choreography in there. There's so much
choreography.
Last one. No, it's not Dom. Let's be honest. It's not going to be the last one.
Dom's not.
We all know.
He's got one up his sleeve.
The joy. I don't know if your podcast is. I know there's a visual component, but for those who are only listening, the joy on Dom's face for the past 20 minutes is really. It's really something. Like, his smile has not gone away.
Unbelievable.
He's
just like the movie. Just like the movie.
Yeah.
Just like the movie. Oh, thank you. Way to bring it back. To answer your question, Josh, it's like, yes, absolutely. I mean, so part of the challenge I set out for myself with the film was I really wanted to try to have interesting shots. Like I'm a fan of comedy, but I often feel that comedies don't always utilize camera and all the other tools that we have in our belt in filmmaking, which I get. It's like, if it's an emphasis on writing and performance, that can be enough oftentimes. But there are more tools in our arsenal of, camera movement, blocking, placing, music, etc., all lighting, all the different things that we do as filmmakers. So I very much wanted to try to create interesting moving masters, which then makes my job 1,000 times harder, right? It's what I learned early on is you can have a dog walk into a room, pick up a ball, jump up on a table, spin around, drop the ball, bark pretty quickly. Like the trainers can do that. But now for my film, I wanted to have that with a camera moving with a second dog in the background who lays down at this moment. A third dog enters into frame at this moment, and the fourth has to like pop up into frame at the very last thing, all timed. And that's where the film got really, really difficult. Really difficult.
Imagine. I literally can't imagine, actually. There must have been some tough days.
There were very tough days. And I think, probably... I think we have some crew t-shirts that's, our t-shirts said things like still rolling, because I wouldn't cut the cameras because, and also our slates, I'm sure the average slate, right, of how many takes did we get to? It's like, I'm sure our average was in the like mid-teens, which is not what you normally do. You normally, it's like, okay, I like to do 3 takes, and once we got it, move on. We got to move on. But we baked that into the process. I knew that would happen, and I knew, the longer you rolled, the more opportunity. And then, of course, my editors did an incredible job of then combing through the footage and finding those great moments that maybe were in between takes. The dog just happened to look off and get a good reaction because something happened in the woods at that moment. And there's a wonderful moment you guys might remember where Bug, voiced by Jamie Foxx, is upset. He's walking through the woods. He's talking about how he's not lonely, he's not scared. And a little leaf happened to fall down from a tree right next. Dog jumped, got totally spooked by the little leaf, which was so funny. So we wrote the script to that. Then we said like, fuck you, leaf. Jamie did a whole funny improv about how he's like not scared of shit. He's like, well, fuck you, leaf. And so there was a lot of moments like that where you kind of go back and you comb through the footage. And similarly, I think to your question, Giles, I also, there were moments when I knew I wanted, like if I was thinking of directing humans, like I want a 30-second slow push in on this moment. And I know that the performance and the line needs to do this, then this, then this. And so we would do long takes of that. And again, such huge kudos to obviously our camera operators, but really to our trainers who were able to kind of get the right performance and timing out of the dogs. It's definitely a lesson of exercise in patience, though. I think for anybody. I think my parents came and visited set one day, and I don't know that they've ever been on any of my sets. And I think they were like, "So this is what you do, Josh?" It's like I'm trying to get a dog to jump over a fence while another one's digging under the fence, and they were like, "Huh, this is not what we thought."
I only came to see the dog bite the dick. That's why I'm here. This is why I'm here, Josh.
I think they might have said, "Where's Will Ferrell?" Is probably
probably. Yeah.
Not here yet.
He's not
Will Ferrell.
There we go. And he did it. Jumping back a little bit then. So look, we're huge fans of Lord and Miller. They were in Turtles movie as well recently, and then obviously doing this as well. What was the involvement? Like you say, you got the script, you were massive fan of it, but to go from there to going, right, we're going to make this is a very different beast. And obviously getting Will on board would have helped massively, but just talk us through that process of getting a film like this actually made.
Greenlit.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a pretty interesting fact about that, which I'll jump to, which is that Universal, who's been an incredible partner in the whole thing and putting the film out there and greenlighting it, they actually greenlit this film before we had any cast on board.
Wow.
So, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. We went out to Atlanta, started filming. No Will Ferrell, no Jamie Foxx, none of our voices. I think we were just started talking to Will Forte, which I think is a huge kudos to them that they sort of, believed in the creative team, the idea, the script, the whole team, and knew that of course we'll get great voice cast, but you never know, and all those sort of variables. But to back up a little bit, so we have the script. Talking about Phil Lord and Chris Miller, two of our main producers on the film, along with Eric Feig, which company's called Picture Start, and Aditya Sood, who is Phil and Chris's producing partner as well. They were just such, they're so incredible. I'm huge fans of all their films, both as directors and as producers. And we very much share a similar sensibility in that a couple things, but primarily when we get together and we talk about the film, we're talking 90% of the time about the emotional center of it, the drama, the kind of emotional core. And yes, we love to write jokes and talk about jokes, but actually that's the icing on the cake. We're mostly kind of talking about the structure and the story and why are you invested in pace and all the other things that sort of make a film work, even if it is a loud R-rated comedy. So we very quickly kind of realized, we're very kindred spirits in that way, but we still had to get a studio on board. So what we decided to do is I kind of put together I want to say it was about 15-minute video pitch. The studio had the script, we had the team on board, but I put together a pitch that sort of really outlined my vision for the film and how I saw it. And some of the stuff we've talked about today, references and how I'm approaching it and and how to think of it. One of the things I said right away was, A, it's not a spoof movie. Let's make that clear. Yep. And B, it's not a dog movie, which, might be like, well, what are you talking about? It's not a dog movie. It's like, well, I'm just trying to approach it. Toy Story wasn't a movie about toys. No. It's like, whatever. Yeah. So you think about it in that way. And it was like trying to reframe and kind of explain my vision. So that was a huge first step. We put together a 15-minute video. I had clips and references and kind of explaining my vision for the film. And I think that was a big part of, if not the kind of main thing while we were certainly budgeting the script, to getting the green light. And then we got the green light. We were trying to figure out where to go. Originally, we were maybe going to go to Vancouver, but then it got too late in the year where we knew we were going to run into a ton of rain. And it's a 90%, if not more, outdoor shoot, right? Yeah. We're in the elements, and we didn't have a lot of cover sets, which I'm sure most of your audience know, but if not, that's where you go. If it rains, you kind of want to have a backup plan. And so we ultimately moved out to Atlanta and started shooting in Atlanta. We acquired the dogs, which was its own process. Like I mentioned, I wanted certain breeds just because of the visuals and I think the storytelling and this and that. And that was tricky because, as I already told you, that meant several of our dogs were going to be not trained at all. You can certainly acquire puppies fairly easily, but we needed adult dogs. And so we wound up going to shelters. We rescued the bulk of our dogs. I love that. We did source some dogs from other places in the smaller roles that did have acting and all that. So that was part of it. They started training in LA, but only a couple months before the film, we head out to Atlanta. We're in prep. I storyboarded a ton of the film. So that was a big part of the process for many reasons. But one was I knew that would be a very quick way to be able to show all my departments, to show my camera department, my operators, all of that, like, and my production design, all of them, like, here's what I want it to look like. Here's the blocking. Because otherwise you're on set and you're just like, what are we doing? Yeah. What scene is this? What shot is this? It's just a dog standing there. So the storyboards helped a ton. We even built some animatics, which I'm a big fan of. And of course, on the day, I'm always ready to throw things out. One of my big things as a director, I think years ago, somebody asked me, what makes a good director? And I thought about it, and I kind of came back to this idea of like strong ideas loosely held, right? You have a strong vision, a strong take, but so you're ready and you have a plan for the day, but you also have to not hold on to them so tightly that you don't let new good ideas come in, or being able to pivot when things don't go right and all of that. So in that sense, we had a whole game plan, but on any given day, depending on what the dogs were doing or what we needed out of it. And the same happened when we did voiceover work. It's like, here's the script, but absolutely encourage Jamie and Will and Isla and Reynold to improvise. And like we talked about earlier. So that's kind of a short version of getting up to production. And then, and then we've talked a bit about production. So.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think it's really fascinating. You touched on it like a little bit ago, but about how important it is to care about the characters and the story structure, because I find like a lot of the films that aren't actually funny, it's because the characters feel very one-dimensional and it feels like the jokes are just sort of flung out of thin air. And you're also in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, what are they actually doing? Like, what's the motivation? Why do we care about them? Everything they're doing, from their bonding to their getting to know each other, it's all sort of feeding towards this central goal. So it's a big tip for anyone trying to do comedy, is to like really do what you've done.
I think so, and I'm absolutely not the first to do it, and I think you go back, and it's always a good question to be, I grew up on sort of John Hughes films, which I think were early, like they were kind of very honest looks, right, and character based, a lot of his comedies, and then I think there's been a lot since, and then Judd Apatow, I think, took that baton and kind of did that and then added kind of some R-rated modern language to it, which that's not to take anything away from he did, but that's sort of, I think, reinvigorated. And, I think that just philosophy of like, what are we really talking about? And I agree, Dom, that when you're not emotionally invested, you better hope that your jokes are really, really strong and frequent. So a movie like, and by the way, it is doable, right? I think, look, let's go to, your geniuses in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, or we can go to the Zucker brothers over on our side of the pond of Airplane.
Yeah.
Right. So Airplane, I'm not emotionally invested in that story, but those jokes, there's a joke in the foreground. There's a joke in the dialogue. There's a joke in the background. There's a joke over the sound with the PA, and they're all funny and creative, and they're coming a mile a minute. And that can work, but it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
So knowing how difficult that is, I think it's not all of it, but I also am like, well, I know I can lean into kind of the heart and the emotion and the truth of these characters. So let's try to make it be all these jokes come out of character if we can. So
you mentioned about the impro and stuff after, so you've already shot the footage with the dogs, and now you're going into the studio and recording with Jamie Foxx and Will Ferrell and Isla Fisher and Sofia Vergara, etc., etc. But if they're improvising, if there's something gold in there, you've now got to try and weave that into the shots you've got, the tracking shots you've got, and these moving masters you've got. How? Because you must have pulled your hair out and gone, that's so funny, but how do I fit it? Was that a problem, or did it just work brilliantly?
Absolutely a problem. Yeah, it was a terrible problem. No, by the way, one big component we're leaving out of this process is there's a finite amount of time you have to make your movie and a finite amount of money. And a huge component of this film is the VFX. All the dogs the mouths have to be animated, and a given line of dialogue has a lifespan of a few months. So you've got to work backwards from that. So all that to say is my VFX department is saying, hey, Josh, you have to stop changing these lines, because if you want your film to deliver on time, you have to make a commitment to this joke and this line. And meanwhile, I'm out testing it, putting it in front of preview audiences, rewriting it. And this is something Phil and Chris, Lord and Miller, do very well, which I love, but it's they never put the pencils down, right? It's like, let's keep writing, let's keep improving it, because we can. It wasn't a live action production where whatever we shot is what we shot. It's like, no, we can keep rewriting, we can keep trying out new jokes and trying out new things. So that created a very difficult challenge for the film and for me, which is, I remember I was actually asked prior to my first screening, right, before I'd shown it to any audience, and I actually think it was before, maybe right around when I was about to show it, the first cut to the studio, the director's cut, I was asked to lock, I think, 300 out of the 1,500 shots. That means dialogues. That means I've got to commit now, before anyone's seen the film, to locking this plate, right, this shot. They start animating that line, that performance. So it became this very interesting, like, oh, shoot, I locked that line, but now I want to add this line. It just it's a very, very difficult process. That it's a double-edged sword. It's like the benefits of getting to keep rewriting means you can keep upping it, but it's not all at once. Like if I could do that up to the last second, great. But I already locked half the shots, and now I'm trying to rewrite another joke opposite something that this person said. So it became a very complicated puzzle.
It must have done. How long did you shoot for? Was it kind of the shoot process and then the edit process? Just if you could put that into
our shoot, if I remember, it's been a while now, but I believe it was about 44 days. So, kind of an average shoot, not. I could have used more time in the sense that, the dogs, as we've talked about, they take a long time sometimes to get the right take in the performance. I did learn in the edit sort of early on that that you can use splits, and so I could basically if this dog in this moment was doing a good job and then this dog was doing not a good job, well, I could split the screen and take this dog's performance from a later time. And we've been doing this. I mean, I remember George Lucas started doing this with Star Wars way back when.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Ben Burt, who was his amazing sound designer, became his picture editor.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some great behind the scenes footage of when Ben Burt, I think, says something like to the effect of when George Lucas discovered that he could split the screen and take different performances from anywhere. It was like, oh no, Pandora's box has been opened. It's like, anything goes. We can try anything. But that became very, very helpful, certainly in editing the film. But it's definitely a challenge.
That's amazing. And then I know we've got to let you go because we could talk forever about this whole process. Just before Dom's final question, can I just ask really quickly, Dennis Quaid? Hilarious, brilliant, but we both turned to each other and went, wow, that was fantastic.
Why is he here?
Yeah. There's no question to it. I just wanted to see your reaction.
No,
why not?
I love it. No, Dennis Quaid is amazing. I mean, it is a bit of a surprise cameo, but in honesty, we've started to use him in our marketing. And so hopefully some people didn't see it in the marketing. Some people do and get surprised. It sounds like maybe you guys didn't know.
We didn't know.
Okay, good. Well, I'm hoping surprises. But no, it was fantastic. I mean, there's a little bit of a wink and a nod to the fact that he's been in the dog movies. If you didn't know, he's in, some of the other Dog's Purpose kind of, which are Universal pictures. And but he was game and he was great. And he was in Atlanta, which was like this lucky bit of kismet where we said, oh, great, you're here. And we came out and shot for a day with him. And weirdly enough, I remember standing on set talking with him about a film that I referenced to you guys earlier called Breaking Away, which is maybe his first or one of his very first roles. And that was a joy for me, just kind of talking to him about, I mean, he's done so many great films over the course of his career. Mm-hmm. But weirdly, I was talking to him about how I saw this R-rated talking dog movie in a weird way. A very distant second cousin to his, old film Breaking Away. And he totally got it. And we had a really fun kind of conversation about it. So
amazing moments.
Yeah.
Last question. If you could give advice to yourself, maybe struggling younger filmmaker trying to make a movie.
Oh man, that's a good question. I think, I mean, there's so many things, you sort of learn as you go. And I think that's part of the joy is like, it's certainly, however you can figure out how to trust your gut is obviously a huge one. I think to some extent, I've always been kind of like interested in stories and films that feel a little weird or different. And I don't know, like this just jumped into my head. I have no idea why, but like, so Halloween, big holiday over here. Mm-hmm. Like when I was a kid, I remember I was always just an odd, like I was a fire hydrant one year. I was a rural mailbox, like, which is like, those mailbox on a post.
Yeah.
And I can remember like friends, it's a mailbox, but a rural, like out in the country, like a countryside mailbox.
Yeah, I see.
You like open the lid and my head was inside, but like, just kind of weird. And I remember like friends being like, well, that's weird. Why aren't you Spider-Man? Or like, why aren't you?
Yeah. Why are you mailbox
man? I think like, as I've gone through, like I was, I was mailbox man. I'm the newest superhero. I deliver your mail and that's my superpower. Yeah. But I guess thinking through this question, it's like, I then was in film school. I was at USC and we have a big project where, it's kind of your big short film that everyone's going to watch and it'll be played in front of all the professors and you can submit it to festivals. And I wanted to make a film about like where your socks go when you lose one of them. Right. And actually use like puppetry and animatronics and different techniques. And of course I didn't have a lot of money, but it was live action and this and that. And I had a professor as assistant say, I don't think that's a good idea, Josh. Like, I think.
Well, who's laughing now?
Yeah, exactly. But it was like, okay, again, there are voices that will come into you when you're making stuff. Back to your question, there will be voices that mean well, like that professing assistant was saying, Josh, I think what you want to do is showcase your ability to work with actors and this and that and all these different things. And I understand what he was saying, but I just was like, no, this is the story I'm interested in telling. And I'm super proud of that little short. But I think as you go through your career, it's really like just constantly trying to trust your gut. I love input. I love feedback, but you always have to go back to like, well, what, and don't make, when you're making your decisions, don't guess what you think other people will like. Ask yourself what you'll like and trust that there are other people out there in the world that feel the same way. And I think that's hard to do. It's hard to do at any point, but certainly maybe when you're younger and you're questioning whether or not you have good instincts, it's like, just, you do. Your instincts are good because if you're being honest, they're yours. And that's the power of it, right? If you're honest to you, that's the power. It's when you start questioning and trying to do what others want or think how you're going to make others like it, then that's when we all kind of can, I think, feel that. And you're like, oh, it's not authentic anymore. Anyway, that was a long answer, I guess, but that would be my bit of advice.
Being authentic and being original is everything you need to make something that doesn't feel manufactured and fake. So, and you've done an incredible job on this film of doing that. Something very, very funny and very heartfelt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Well done.
A pleasure chatting with you. And I don't know where the score landed, but I'm pretty sure Dom won.
I'm pretty sure
I'll take it.
Dom won. He'll take it. He'll do loads in the intro as well. Don't worry.
He's the top dog.
He's the top dog. He'll rack them up.
I only got a couple in.
They're good ones, though. They're good ones.
Yeah, there were some good ones. The Strays is out now. Go watch it. It's fantastic. Watch it in cinema. Have a laugh. Have a blast. It's fantastic. It really is. Josh Greenbaum, thank you so much. This has been a real delight. You've been fantastic guest. Really appreciate your time. Yeah,
same.
Really good.
Yeah, hopefully we can. If I'm ever across the pond, we can get a pint and meet face to face.
Sounds fantastic.
We'd absolutely love that.
We'd
love that.
Yeah.
Well, take care. Thanks, Josh.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.